there! Welcome to this week's marketing training here inside of Get Booked Out. I love saying that phrase every single week. Super happy to have you here. This week we're talking about a topic that was nominated by our community. Earlier this week I asked if there was something that you would really like to see this week's marketing training on, and had multiple people ask for something related to creating a marketing brochure or flyer. So that's what we are going to be diving into today. If you are joining me live, please say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're joining from. If you're catching the replay, drop a hashtag replay into the comments to make sure I can see that you saw this. Make sure I answer any questions and that you don't get lost in kind of the mix as the group is continuing to post and engage throughout the week. So if this is your first time joining, hi, my name is Anna Walker. I'm a web and marketing strategist that helps therapists and counselors get booked out with clients you love and who love you. And a really, really great tool in doing that is traditional marketing. And so a lot of what we talk about in this group is related to digital marketing, things that you do online. But in fact, there are still some tried and true resources, such as a marketing flyer, marketing brochure, that are really helpful to have in your practice when done right. Oftentimes I will see therapists knock on the doors of multiple physicians with a flyer or a business card and expect results, when in fact there needs to be a lot more thought and strategy behind how you're doing that and how you're going about it. So today we're going to be talking about how to create that brochure specifically, and begin to touch on how it relates to kind of your overall marketing. But I do invite you to check out some past trainings. If you click the networking topic in this group, you'll get to see a couple other ones where we talk about how to be reaching out to these people and using these resources. So with that, let's dive in. What is a marketing brochure or flyer? This is, we're going to talk about how there's a couple different types, but your marketing brochure or flyer is often something that is printed, that is a hard copy, but that can also be emailed using like in PDF form or something like that, and provided to a potential referral source, or potentially provided to a referral source for them to provide to your ideal client. So there's kind of two different ways to think about that. But the reason that you need one of these is because people still expect them. You know, if you go have a really great conversation with a physician, or you connect with an occupational therapist, or you talk to a pastor, but you don't leave anything with them that reminds them of who you are and what you do, you're bound to be forgotten. And a business card is great and can start to do that, but when accompanied by a flyer is going to give them some more context, remind them of the great work you do, and really keep you front of mind. So that's why these are a really, really great resource. The main thing that I want you to keep in mind as you are going through this training and thinking about your marketing brochure is that your brochure is not about promoting yourself. Your brochure is about connecting to the needs of the person that's reading it, and positioning yourself as someone that's valuable and useful to that person. So we'll talk about that a little bit in more detail as we get in, but I really just want you to try and get away from the idea that this is about getting your name out there. It's getting out there the fact that you can help the person that's reading it. So if you just kind of make that small tweak in the way that you think about it, you'll see that it can really powerfully influence ultimately how you create this flyer. So as we get into the 4 steps that we're going to talk about, don't hesitate to ask questions, drop them into the comments. I will make sure that I answer any that come through during the live. And if you're catching the replay and you have questions, don't hesitate, again, to drop them in the comments. And if you drop a hashtag replay, I'll make sure that I see those and can answer them. So I am working off of an example. I know that I had someone mention that they're a visual learner, and I totally get that. So if you go to walkerstrategyco.com/brochure, you will be led to an example of a flyer I recently created for one of my clients. This is not something, A, that you should be duplicating. This was developed specifically for her. And B, it's not the end-all be-all of marketing brochures, but it is to give you an example of some of the key things we're going to be talking about in this training. So again, that's walkerstrategyco.com/brochure. I'll drop that in the comments after the event to make sure you can get there, but that's a really great place to check out an example of these types of things put into action. So step number 1 has nothing to do with writing or designing your brochure, but it's so critical. Number 1 is to identify your goal. There are a couple different types of brochures or flyers that you can create for your practice. Some are going to be more promotional, are going to be focused on what you do, and these are meant to get right to your specialties and how to take action. So this is kind of the traditional brochure. The one that you are seeing if you navigate to that link is more of that traditional route. The other type of flyer you can be creating to promote your practice is usually in addition to that traditional one, but these ones are focused on offering value, guidance, support, with promotion coming more as a byproduct. So an example of that would be a piece you create and you give to a pediatrician that is 6 ways to calm an anxious child during distance learning. Something like that. This is a resource that you've created. This might be a resource you've provided to clients in the past and you simply just reuse with your contact information at the bottom. So there are 2 different kind of ways these are going to be used, right? A more promotional one is going to be handed straight to a provider or their patient or client as a means to learn exactly what it is that you do and how to do therapy with you. The other one is a helpful resource that can be provided to them and be valuable whether or not they reach out to you. So there's 2 kind of marketing strategies you can take here, but keep in mind that you need to identify what your goal is, whether you're wanting to get straight to the point or you're wanting to offer value, because that's obviously going to dictate what you write and how you design it. So step 1 is to identify your goal. Are you going more promotional and informational, or are you going more valuable and kind of resource direction? So that's a really important one. Number 2 is identify your audience. This is really, really critical, and when I've looked at brochures in the past or had a client reach out and ask if I can review one, oftentimes they're getting this muddied up. So the example that you'll see if you go to the link on my website, this is a marketing brochure specifically targeted to providers, specifically targeted to physicians, actually. And so talking to a physician or a provider is a lot different than talking directly to your ideal client, right? So you have to ask yourself, how do I expect this brochure to be used? Am I going to give this to the office manager and expect that they just give it to the doctor? Or am I expecting that they're going to print out multiple pieces, or I'm going to bring in, a handful, 5 or 10 of these that they can hand directly to my client? Because that's going to determine who you're talking to in that piece, right? You'll see in the example at the bottom, the call to action says, if you are seeing someone who may benefit from our support, contact us today. Now, if this was geared toward a client, you would say, if you are, experiencing challenges related to grief and loss or a medical diagnosis, reach out today for a free consultation. The entire, direction of the piece is changed. So really ask yourself, who is this meant for? And please don't be afraid to create different versions based on the needs of your different audiences. If you if you are networking with both pastors and physicians, they have different needs, right? There are different ways to talk to those folks. So do a little bit of the extra legwork to create different versions that really resonate with that person. And specifically keep in mind if these are going to be getting right in front of your ideal client or just being read by someone that's going to act as a referral source to you. So I hope that makes sense. We want to be writing copy that's geared to the person that you ultimately want to read this. The example you're seeing at the link, that was developed for providers. We have a almost identical version developed for clients that they could then provide a handful to the providers that they could ultimately hand over to their patients. So keep in mind who your audience is, make sure that you're clear on that and that you're writing to that person so they don't get all muddied up when they're like, it feels like you're writing to a doctor. Like, why would I reach out to this person? We want to make sure that that's really, really super clear. All right, step 3. Now we're actually going to get into what you're going to say on this piece. So now it's time to outline and write this piece. There's a couple really critical pieces that should be included no matter how you design this, what type of therapist you are, what your specialties are. Number 1, a short headline that describes your practice. This is not a place to be kitschy or cute. This is not a place to put a massive headshot of you or a very large version of your logo. Instead, it needs to be a very, very short, descriptive headline about what you do. So in this example, you see that it says therapist specializing in grief, loss, and medical diagnoses. Okay, I know if I'm reading this and I have someone in mind that they're automatically going to come to mind when I read that. So what do you want people to remember about you? If you've done the Fill Your Practice formula, what's your niche statement? Remember that first module for niching? What is it that you do and how do you describe it? That should be reinforced right here. So a really short headline describing who you serve, what you do. Then somehow you can do this in bullets, you can do this in paragraph form, you can do this using graphics, but acknowledge the challenges or the problems that your ideal client is experiencing. So someone that is coming to a physician, in the case of this therapist example, has likely been diagnosed with some sort of medical diagnosis and is grappling with that. Talk about what that's like, or maybe they're experiencing or have recently lost, a loved one. What is that like? So acknowledge that you understand that, create a little bit of that connection as opposed to just getting right into what you do, because that's what's going to make you memorable and ultimately make you easy to connect to. Then offer some summary of your approach to helping. This does not need to be a dissertation. This can be, again, a couple bullets or a sentence, but talk about what it means to work with you. What is your approach to helping people with this problem or this challenge? From there, make sure that you offer your individual specialties. So however on your website you break out your specialties, be that individual, couples, group, anxiety, trauma, relationships, whatever that is, make sure that those specialties are really clearly shown. In the case of this one, there's grief and loss, medical conditions, and chronic illness as their specialties, but you want that to be really, really easy to consume and easy to look at and realize, okay, they do these 3 things, I qualify myself for number 2, I'm ready to go. And then following that, make sure that in this piece there is a strong, strong, strong call to action. Okay, there needs to be a clear way to engage with you. This isn't, this shouldn't just be your URL thrown at the end or your phone number at the bottom or your address. This needs to be reach out for a free consultation. Contact me to send a referral my way. Be really, really direct on that because we want this piece to ultimately, turn into something, right? We want people to read this and take action. And one of the best ways to do that is to tell them what to do. So there needs to be that strong call to action if you want this piece to ultimately drive action and get results, as opposed to just being thrown in the trash or thrown aside. We want it to ultimately be read and acted upon. So that third one, let's talk about the key pieces that need to be involved in this. So a short headline describing your practice. At the very top, I should immediately know what you do and who you serve. Acknowledge the challenges or the problems that your ideal client is facing. This doesn't have to be super long or super complex, but show that you understand, because that's going to be a way that you're going to build trust with people. Summarize your approach. Offer just a quick summary of what it means to work with you, what therapy's like, what they can expect. Your individual specialties, make sure that those are called out. Again, you can do that visually, you can do that with graphics, however you'd like, but make sure that it's clear. If you serve children, I should see a section about children. If you work with anxiety or eating disorders, that should be clear there. So make sure that you're calling out more of your specific specialties as opposed to your practice as a whole. And then having a really strong, deliberate, and direct call to action. Don't be passive about this. Don't just put your contact information at the bottom. Tell them what you'd like them to do. Reach out to you. Schedule a free consultation. Visit your website to book your consultation, whatever that is and whatever you want them to do. So that's how you're going to write the piece, and then it's time to design the piece, which is one of my favorite parts. You, of course, have tons of tools at your disposal, and you can design until the cows come home, but a couple key strategies. Number one, if you're looking for a really easy tool to use, canva.com is my very, very favorite. I saw that mentioned in the thread asking for topics. Canva is wonderful, canva.com. They have an entirely free account that you can do. You can also upgrade to a paid one and be able to upload your own fonts and things like that, but really the free one is probably all you need to create a basic brochure. You can play around with templates. They have some great examples there. But as far as how you want this to be designed in order to be eye-catching and ultimately get read, right? Because someone is going to look at something and make a judgment before they even, read it and consume it. We want to make sure that you're covering a couple key sort of design best practices. So number one, include your logo if you have one. That's a great way to create some visual consistency, especially if they do go ahead and visit your website. As far as colors and fonts go, keep it to 2 to 3 colors max. 2 to 3 colors max. Do not make this a rainbow. Try and keep it really, really cohesive and clean. If you have logos or brand colors, if you have colors in your logo or brand colors, use those again to create some of that visual continuity. We want someone that views this brochure and then views your website to be like, oh yeah, this is the same person. We don't want these to look super, super different. So try and create some consistency in the same way that hopefully you thought about your business card and things like that. And then please keep it to just 1 or 2 fonts. Try not to get carried away with fonts or, too many crazy graphics. Try to keep things really cohesive from a design perspective, because if you think about what these people are seeing on a day-to-day basis, if this is focused on a provider or on the client, how many printed things do you see a day? How many things on the internet do you see a day? So many, right? So this has to stand out a little bit, and the best way to do that is to be really clean and crisp and not distracting. So when in doubt, less is more when it comes to color, when it comes to fonts, and just when it comes to overall design. Also, make sure, this is just a small thing, but make sure that you're leaving enough white space around things. Don't cram things together. Make it really easy to read. Make sure that your fonts are large enough to be read. So maybe print out a version just to make sure before sending it off to someone. But make sure that, again, you're sort of aligning to that look and feel that the rest of your marketing has, that your social media has, that your that your website has, things like that. So that, we're creating sort of this system. We're reinforcing the fact that you are a trustworthy source and that you know what you're talking about, because visuals are actually a really powerful way to communicate that. So that was step 4. Canva, canva.com is my number one recommendation. If you want to get more in depth, I use Adobe tools, but you certainly don't have to. Canva should be able to get the job done for you. Include your logo if you have one. If you don't, that's okay. Just make sure that your practice name is included. And then keep it to 2 to 3 main colors and 1 to 2 fonts, keeping it as consistent as possible with the rest of your marketing. So those are some great design tips to keep in mind for your marketing brochure. So let's revisit these 4 steps. Number 1, identify your goal. Whether this is going to be a more traditional promotional brochure or something that's more focused on value and resource, in which case you can provide something similar to what you would provide an existing client. Then identify your audience. Am I wanting this brochure to get into the hands of my client, or am I wanting it to get into the hands of a referral source? Whatever the answer is, make sure that you are writing and gearing everything that you do in this brochure to that person. So yes, while you may hand a client-facing brochure to a provider first, it should still be written to that client. Think about the end person that you want reading this. And then number 3, outline that piece. Make sure that you have a really easy to read and easy to understand description of what you do. Create some connection and trust by talking just a little bit about the problems that you understand they're facing, your specialties, a really strong call to action. And then design it. Then get to have some fun, but use some restraint. Less is more when it comes to these brochures. And those steps, friends, are the same exact steps I take in order to create brochures like the one that you see. And what I would recommend to you if you are just getting started, or if you're revisiting or kind of rebranding or pivoting niches or adding a niche, this is the approach to take when it comes to creating something that's really useful for referral sources and ultimately for your ideal clients. So I hope that this was helpful for you. Let me make sure we don't have any comments. I'm not seeing any comments, so that's wonderful. Hopefully that means this made sense. Thank you so much for joining me. If you do have questions as you're watching this, again, if you're catching the replay or you're looking at the example brochure and coming back, totally fine. Would love to answer your questions and chat through things with you. Just drop them in the comments below. I appreciate you all so much. I hope this was a useful one for you. If you have ideas on topics for marketing trainings in the future, don't hesitate to make a post, shoot me a message, comment on one of the threads, something like that, because I would love to make sure that what I am putting out here for you is useful. So you guys enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next time.